When it comes to shooting, we ain't gonna miss. My name is Xander.
My name's Jeb.
And by shooting, I mean an episode of the Kiss Army Things podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Today's episode is going to be all about the new Off the Soundboard release, which for us was released yesterday. For you, it'll have been released a couple days ago. We're going to get this one out as soon as possible.
Right.
But yeah, we've been waiting for this one. We don't have the vinyl yet. That's not a mistake on KOL's part, but we do have the CD.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing today. How do you feel about it?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. Do you want to start with a spotlight or just jump into it? Is
Yes.
that going to be our spotlight?
Well,
maybe?
I was going to say, usually when we do the soundboard, it ends up being our spotlight.
True.
But
True.
in the last episode, you said that you had a couple spotlights. You were going to save one
Yeah.
for that episode and then one for this episode.
Right.
So we can all agree that obviously
Off the soundboard.
the Des Moines soundboard is obviously what we've been listening to the most and most recently. But I'm curious as to what the other one was.
The other album was Animalize.
Okay.
Since I found a almost sealed copy with the in the shrink wrap with the hype sticker I bought for Xander for his collection, but before I gave it to him, I listened to it, and since then I had been listening to that. I listened to it about 2 or 3 times after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing too deep. It's just front to back. I really enjoy the record. I think it's a very good, high energy '80s Kiss album with incredible guitar work.
Incredible guitar.
And I just thought I would shout that out with Paul's amazing vocals. And Paul Stanley producing the record as well. Pretty cool.
You know what's funny is that I was also going to do another pre-spotlight, if you will.
Sure.
And mine was also going to be Animalize,
yeah.
because in the last episode, I think we even mentioned it. I think we mentioned that record.
A beautiful mint copy. Which, for some reason, on my turntable, my speaker sounded... That copy specifically just sounded excellent. So when I bought it, there was not a single scratch on it. It's total mint condition.
Yeah, and it's right there on the turntable. I've been jamming it too because as soon as you mentioned it, because last time it was Revenge, so I had Revenge on the turntable. As soon as you left, I took off Revenge, put on Animalize.
Yes.
And guess what? It's still there. So yeah, no, I'm with you. It's probably one of my favorite 80s Kiss albums.
Okay.
Obviously, as you get more and more into the 80s with, Asylum and Crazy Nights, Kiss went not full pop, but they had a lot more of a poppier sound.
Asylum.
And I think those albums are great, don't get me wrong, but I love the heat that's on Animalize. It's like leftover from Lick It Up, which is leftover from Creatures, and so Kiss in that pocket was fantastic. I've Had Enough, Into the Fire is one of the best. Amazing opener. Yes. It's a great Kiss song, but it's a fantastic opener. Mm-hmm. Under the Gun. I wish there were more songs in the catalog like Under the Gun.
I know.
Because
that's
Eric Carr,
my
double bass. I think Eric Carr, I don't know if he has a songwriting credit or not, but I think Eric Carr started the creation of that song based on that drum beat.
Really?
And Paul kind of wrote around it. I could be wrong, but I just love Under the Gun because of the double bass. Songs like, Get All You Can Take.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thrills in the Night.
It's Murder in High Heels. Is that off? That is off that.
Yes, yeah.
For some reason, I always think that's either on Animalize or Asylum, but I know it's the last song.
It's a Gene 80 song. They get lost.
I love that song.
It's good. It is good.
I love that song.
And if I'm not mistaken, obviously Mark St. John was on the majority of that album, but I'm pretty sure 2 of those songs Bruce Kulick played lead guitar on. One of them is Lonely as the Hunter. Mm-hmm. And the other one is either Murder in High Heels or When the City Sleeps.
Okay.
One of the 2. But I know that Bruce did play on 2 of those songs.
2 amazing Kiss guitarists on the same record.
Both of our spotlights are the same. We're both spotlighting Animalize. We're both spotlighting the new Off the Soundboard. We did not plan that, but it is how it happened.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, hey, let's get right into it, talking about Off the Soundboard. So we've been waiting for Des Moines Off the Soundboard to be released for a few months now. For some reason, it felt like this one took a lot longer to be released. Even though it's been about, 3 months? Every 3 months they're being released?
Probably because I think
for some reason
most people agrees that this is the one we've really been waiting for.
Okay.
Since they first announced it, I think this one's had the most, anticipation and the most hype behind it because of its, 1977. It's the original lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been wanting the original lineup, and we got that with Donington. But
we're talking about
this is clearly
from
Kiss.
The 1970s.
Yeah, this is clearly Kiss at their pinnacle. So, and I was able to, once I got off work, actually go and pick this up. I think you ordered it as well.
I ordered it
and
from
yours
Amazon.
Yours is coming in.
It'll be coming in within the next Probably
couple
3
days.
to 4 days.
For sure, yeah.
Sooner. Yeah.
So I got mine, but you did listen to it on Spotify, obviously. So, that's where do you want to begin with our review?
Well, I kind of have a question, or at least one question to start out to get the ball rolling here.
Okay.
I'd like to ask what you were most excited about in hearing this, and if it met your expectation.
Okay.
And I can tell you, for me, it was just hearing songs from that era that weren't on Alive 2. I really wanted to get more of those. Because Alive 2 had to feature from the 3 latest albums and not take from the first 3 because of the original Alive, and there's not a lot there. But I think that for me was the thing I anticipated the most.
I was anticipating just hearing a raw full Kiss show. We are all under the impression, we all know that Alive and Alive 2 and even Alive 3 and all the
everything, all
the live albums are heavily edited. So and we're all aware of that. And so for years that kind of bothered me. Where it's like, well, I'm not listening to a true, and we're going to come back to this, I guarantee you, a true live album.
Yeah.
So that kind of bothered me. So I wanted to hear what Kiss sounded like in '77, just in full, back to back to back. Again, you mentioned how they had to on Alive 2, curate the album so that it did not have any leftover songs, and they took songs from this show and that show and this sound check and compiled the album that way.
Right.
So yeah, for this I just wanted to hear a straightforward rock and roll Kiss show.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what I got. I think I'm curious. I haven't really heard too many other fans' opinions yet. I haven't even heard yours, obviously. This is just the first time, but I'm curious to see what other fans are going to think of obviously it's originals Kiss, and no one's going to complain there. But a lot of people had something to say about the quality of the recording on the Paris show from the Destroyer box set.
Oh, yeah.
And this one, I feel, too, is very raw.
Yeah.
This is about as raw as it gets. Not quite as raw, maybe, as the Paris show from the Destroyer box set.
Right.
But this still is some pretty raw audio.
Yes.
Doesn't really matter to me because, we can obviously, that's going to happen. It's an older recording. Yeah. The fact that it was even recorded at all, I'm always glad to see any of these recordings. So I think fans were a little bit more upset with Virginia Beach's sound quality because it came out in an era where you could expect at least a little bit higher quality, especially when the Instant Live.
Honestly, we already know that higher quality audio already exists.
Yeah. So to get a lesser, kind of that, is going to rub us the wrong way.
True.
Obviously, I don't think there's really much to complain about as far as the audio goes here. There were times where I heard a little bit of, like on Beth, where I think the vocals were, I don't know if it was the microphone or maybe it was the soundboard, but there was some it was fading in and out a little bit.
Oh yeah, like you can tell it's on tape.
Yeah.
I feel like earlier in the album you can hear like some hiss kind of fade in and out. And I wonder if they did. I wonder what they did with the recording. How much. If they tried to boost any. I don't know how much time.
If I had to guess, I would say nothing.
I would say it sounds like nothing.
It's to me, it's except for
it sounds like they just took it and put it on CD.
We say that, and then I always think back to the first Off the Soundboard they did.
The intro they did
with the intro
when they doctored that out.
Yeah, so the intro from the first Off the Soundboard is not the same intro from March 01.
But that's not the same as
it's from 2019.
Going in.
No, you're right.
Taking
it's
the
not
tape
the same.
and digitizing it and. Increasing the levels here, or adjusting this or that to really produce it and give it a higher.
Yeah, it's not
quality.
the same.
I don't think they're doing.
It's not the same, but it at least means that it is possible that they're going in and changing something. If they change this pretty big thing on the one, they can. It means they're doing something, or could be.
I'm just curious of what they did.
Yeah. I somebody commented on one of our recent episodes and was talking about the upcoming Creatures box set and how they heard, I haven't heard this, so it's just from what this comment said, this person said that they heard that Vinny's solos are going to be cut or shortened on this box set. Which I thought, well, that's stupid because they have all of Ace's full solos. That's
partly why I'm buying it.
And you have Tommy's full solo on, Virginia Beach, so why would you...
And this is a box set. Why would you edit? A deluxe version. You're supposed to give everything there is to give.
And I think my reply was, unless it's, because they're 14 minutes long, because how Vinny Vincent, they're like, okay, well, we're running out of CD space, so we're going to have to cut these out.
They can just do it, well, they're not going to do a whole separate disc just for Vinny's
solo.
But Well, we have no idea whether that's true.
Right.
I hope they leave everything in.
I hope they do too.
I want every bit of that mess of a guitar solo that I can.
Because it sounds like in this off the soundboard here with Des Moines, they left everything in.
It sounds from beginning to end. It sounds like a full Kiss show.
The only part I would question that is towards the end.
Okay.
After, what is it? I forget which one it is. I think it's after Beth. After Beth, the voice says, the overhead voice says, "All right, Des Moines, Peter Criss, Paul Stanley,
Yes.
Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons," and then
really
immediately after that, I think Black Diamond starts. So what I would imagine actually happened in real life was after he said that, they came out, did a bow, and waved and maybe throw some drumsticks or did whatever, and then went back up and then did one more song.
That was probably like 5 minutes of dead space. There was probably just cut out.
There was that to me is the only thing I can think of that would have maybe been edited, because it does seem kind of weird that he would announce the names and then immediately Black Diamond would start.
Instruments in hand, ready to play.
Instruments in hand, ready to play. Yeah. So
and that of course doesn't bother me. No. I actually like the fact that this is the CD version's only on one disc. I like that it's tight. What's it? An hour and 15 minutes.
Something like that.
All on one disc. I like, the other ones are much longer, but I like how tight this one is.
Have all of these been 2 discs so far?
This is the first single disc CD. They're all...
Yeah, you're right. These are all...
Now, the vinyl, I think it's only a 2 disc. Whereas those are 3 or 4?
Yeah, those are all 3.
Those are all 3 on vinyl. And this is one that's 1 CD, 1 vinyl, which I like. I like that it's just... I don't like changing... That's the most annoying thing.
Yeah.
Changing out CDs and records. So I like that this is a tight hour and 15 or something like that.
So why is this one...
There's more song. Well, the older Kiss shows they weren't playing 2-hour sets. Hour and 45-minute sets.
This has 17. This has 17.
Well, in 77, they were playing with a lot of other acts, too.
This has 20.
So they probably had a good opening band. I know a band like, Styx open for any...
This has roughly the same amount. But yeah, I guess the shows are just more drawn out nowadays.
Oh, definitely.
More theatrical. They were just boom, boom, boom,
Paul's
boom,
stage
boom,
banter
boom.
is just a few words. He's not doing stuff with the crowd. He's just shouting something, and they're playing the songs really quick. 1977, you listen to a live too. It's the same here. Like God of Thunder, for instance, is just super fast.
I was going to say, they're playing, the songs are like 30 seconds faster, or 30 seconds.
And the songs are already like 3 minutes tops on the records anyway.
Yeah.
3.5 minutes at most.
Yeah.
So I think, but I like that. As far as the sound quality goes, just to touch on that, I've noticed because I listen to it in my car and with headphones, it's a lot better with headphones. I haven't listened to it on a proper stereo with speakers yet, but I would imagine that, I think it might get too distorted. I think having headphones or earbuds, having it more direct, sounds significantly better than listening to it in your car. You could really notice all the just the distortion and the tape and
yeah.
Because it doesn't sound that... I'm not bothered by it because I understand it's a bootleg from 77. The fact that we even got it, it's awesome. And it's not like on the Virginia Beach where we expect something that should be better.
Yeah.
The quality is what it is. I'm just glad to have it. I think that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, and I had listened to it in the car, and yes, you are right. As soon as you try and start cranking this up, you're going to lose some of that, but again, that's to be expected.
Yeah.
I would ask the Kiss Army, how do you feel about that? Because obviously, again, this is probably, compared to Kiss Alive 2, this is what Kiss actually sounded like live if you were there in the audience.
Definitely.
Kiss Alive 2 is doctoring it up to give you the ultimate experience.
Yes, same with Alive.
It's the entertainment industry, so I get that. But this is, pure bare bones. But the fact that, we're paying, upwards of like $70 for the vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if, maybe some other fans out there would rather hear them try and go back and do some...
That's a good point. You spend that much for an album, you might expect some audiophile quality.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they're even doing vinyl releases for these things.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like they're putting that much work into the audio. Again, I'm ignorant as to what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
And the cover art and everything like that, it just seems like, just here it is, enjoy it.
It's very, very basic.
Yeah, it's very kind of straightforward, cut and dry,
And if I had to guess, I think it's because Universal knows that that Kiss fans will buy it. If they offer something to Kiss fans will buy it.
Sure.
Not every Kiss fan, but Kiss fans will buy it.
But it's good that they didn't put they didn't want to put too much money and effort into it. I think what it comes down to is the money, because we all know that they could have easily have gone and boosted all the audio, but then again, does that take away from the fact that it's a bootleg? And who knows? And the artwork, I think, for me, the only thing that's missing on these releases is, and this one particularly, I would have loved to have seen some great artwork. Yeah. That's still just every time I'm like, man, I wish I had something to look at when I listen to this. You know, because when you get Alive 2, and I know those are two very separate things. One's, you know, Alive 2 is an official, you know, Kiss release, you know, in 77, you're supposed to get that big Kiss experience.
Yeah.
But this, I feel like we're getting half of it. But that's just, you know, you have to realize what it is. Yeah,
I did leave a comment on Facebook, because I followed T42 Design, the guy in the company who, you know, the design firm that does this.
Absolutely, they're great.
Which is fantastic. You know, same person that does this has done the box set and done Kiss Rocks Vegas and all that. So it's not about, you know, the quality of the design, it's the direction of the design. And I made a comment on T42 Design's Facebook page in regards to the Donington one, and, you know, made a comment, hey, I love how you included the UK flag on the Kiss Army logo very subtly.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that until you brought it up last time. About it.
I thought that was really cool. So I made a comment, and, you know, he commented back and said, thanks for the compliment. Within the constraints that I have to work within, I like to at least try and offer something cool and fun.
Fair enough.
I was like, okay, well, boom. That's pretty much all but confirmed that, you know, Universal says, you know, we want bare bones, cardboard, simple logo, simple text.
Just get it out. Just print it quickly.
Just print it and do it.
Print it and go.
But what I do like is, at least if you start looking at these covers, and I'm a design guy, so I look at the covers, and, you know, again, you do have the UK flag on Donington. You have lots of different, you know, style fonts and text down here. Slight that is really cool. The names of the band members are in different positions each time.
Right.
But so it's, you know, little subtle things like that are fun. But so were there any standout tracks? Like, were there any, you know, tracks?
I mean,
that stood out to you?
I enjoyed the whole thing pretty much throughout. Let me look at the tracks. I mean, well. The first thing
I Stole Your Love.
I was going to say the first thing that I immediately liked, and I expected this, and I was really anticipating, was opening the show with I Stole Your Love. That, I think both of us agree, it's one of the greatest album and show openers that they could do.
Album openers and concert opener for sure.
Yeah, it was like hearing it, you know, in 77 with the whole show, I thought it was awesome. The going into King of the Nighttime World, you know, Ladies' Room. Of course, there, you know, I thought Firehouse was really cool. That's from the debut album, so that's one that was not off Live 2. Let Me Go Rock and Roll was pretty awesome.
That was one of my favorites too.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, and then Making Love was, well, I was gonna say, I think Love Gun, for whatever, I don't know why, but Love Gun and Making Love were two that I enjoyed the most.
That's
probably,
okay.
I don't know, it's probably just because of Ace's solo on Love Gun. I love the way, that's one of his greatest guitar solos ever. I think I said something similar on the last episode, but whenever I can point out a brilliant solo, I'll do it.
Absolutely.
And Love Gun is note for note exactly perfect how it needed to be, and he killed it live. His tone is just awesome on this show. I mean, it is classic Ace. It sounds like classic, you know, Kiss.
Space Ace.
And when I hear it, I'm like, that's Ace. That's his sound in the 70s. That you know, that song particularly, it grabbed me. And Making Love also is just a fantastic song that I also love.
Wasn't Making Love your favorite off of Virginia Beach?
It was.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Well, no, that's okay. That's cool. it's a great song. It's a great song.
Yes. Christine 16's okay. You know, not one of the best ones. Hearing Shock Me live.
That was my
from this
one.
era is just absolutely killer. Anything Ace we can get is awesome.
Yeah.
So to have him singing "Shock Me," same with the Donington, you know, we got to hear him sing on that one too. Mm-hmm. But hearing him from '77 is just freaking awesome. You know, his solos are always something to look forward to, because some people think, and I thought, that his solos were the same always, and they always are built around the same concept, but he always changes little things up here.
They are
there.
Yes,
and I don't know where that comes from, if he just improvises on the spot, or based on where he's at, he'll play something different. But I love hearing Ace play something, you know, do something a little bit differently on every show, because on every show that he's on, as far as these off the soundboards go, and that's off of, well, there's 4 now, right?
Yeah, he's been on 3 of the 4.
He's been on 3, and they're all different.
Well, they're all fantastic.
They're all different, and they're all freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So Ace on these, you know,
he's shining.
He's
man.
a highlight on these albums.
Well, it's funny because, you know, we talk about how much Ace shines on these, and I thought Tommy was the one that shined the most
on Virginia Beach.
And I wonder if that's because of the soundboards. Like, these guitars were going right into the soundboards. Like, the drums maybe a little muffled, but not these.
The drums,
not these guitars, man. These guitars are sounding great.
The guitars were great.
Yeah.
I'm calling Dr. Love is great. Shout Out Loud's classic. You know, I really enjoyed God of Thunder.
Did you?
And Peter's drum solo was the same.
Very similar to a live 2.
Yeah, I would say pretty much the same concept.
Which I
cool.
I don't care. You know,
I was expecting that.
I hear people, you know, today complain about like, oh, Eric Singer, he plays the same drum fill every night. It's like Peter Criss was doing the same thing too. But
Eric Singer doesn't actually play the same.
Well, no, but again, built around the same thing. You know, people will complain about, you know.
Well, yeah,
they're
well rehearsed.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, what do you expect?
They're playing roughly the same songs every night.
That's because we listened to every single Kiss show that happens in 2022. You didn't listen to every single show that happened in '77, so you just thought that, you know, it was all different. But no, like I thought it was, you know, very
pretty
good.
Much the same. Yeah, I was saying it's a solid drum solo, and then it's still weird to me going from, you know, something like God of Thunder to Rock and Roll All Night and not ending the show. I kind of, in my mind, expected them to end the show, because I didn't look at the track listing before it was released.
Neither did I.
I expected Rock and Roll All Night to be the closing song.
Me too.
Forgot this is 1977. It's not the closing song.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, where was it when Kiss decided that was going to be, like, the ending song? I mean, it had to have been very soon
Every time
after
we've seen them live, that's been
it's always been that
final,
way.
and it's been like that for a long time.
Long time.
And so that was kind of, it's always weird hearing that. You know, hearing Rock and Roll All Night, going into Detroit Rock City, which is great, and then Beth, which is weird. Beth after Detroit Rock City feels super weird to me. And then the 7 Youngs, they pretty much always ended the, you know, most of the 70s, they ended the shows with Black Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much a staple, but I forgot because we don't have any CDs with,
right? Yeah,
other than Alive 2 of stuff from the 70s.
Yeah,
as far as live stuff.
Alive and Alive 2, that's it. Yeah, so you mentioned the track listing and how it's different. So on Alive 2, the album ends with Shout Out Loud.
Shout It Out Loud. Oh, wow.
As if that's the ending to a Kiss show.
That's weird.
You know, and it's funny because if you listen to Kiss Alive 2, you don't think about it. You hear Alive 2, it's like, that was perfect. That was it. That was the greatest Kiss show I've ever heard.
Never
and you start looking
now.
at it, you're like, the last song is Shout It Out Loud?
Shout It Out Loud.
What? And Alive 2 also has Hard Luck Woman and Tomorrow and Tonight.
Right.
Which this does not. Because
true.
This has Black Diamond, Firehouse, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll, which were already on the previous.
So they couldn't use those.
So this really isn't, or Alive 2 technically isn't accurate to the actual set that they were playing at that, which is fine.
Because they weren't playing Tomorrow and Tonight, were they, in 77? Or were they?
I don't think it got played live.
Probably a sound check.
Yeah.
Well, so someone knows if anyone was there, if you ever saw a show or heard of a show of another bootleg where they played Tomorrow and Tonight, but that sounds like one that they kind of shoehorned in.
It sounds
to put
like
on Live too.
If they did play it live, it was once or twice on that Love Gun tour and then never again.
Sure.
But now this actually is on the Alive 2 tour. This off the soundboard.
This isn't Love Gun.
This is not the Love Gun tour, which that kind of I learned. Which I always forget that there was an Alive 2 tour.
I completely spaced it.
I always forget. So I think the Love Gun tour ended in September. Went from like July to September.
Yeah.
And then Alive 2, this was in November, so the tour probably started in October, maybe, whatever.
Sure.
Or November. But yeah, so this released on the Alive 2 tour, not the Love Gun tour, which basically the Alive 2 tour was just an extension of the Love Gun tour. Kind of like the Hottest Show on Earth tour was an extension of Sonic Boom.
Exactly.
Kiss has a way of just being like, no, we ain't done.
We're going to extend this.
We're going to add another 100 dates. We're going to add 100 cities, to the end of the road show. They're still doing it to this day. They know how to milk it and, wring it out for all it's worth. I love it.
I didn't notice it. Yeah, it's November 77. That would have been the Alive 2 tour.
Yeah, Kiss.
So they didn't have to play by the same rules they didn't want to on the Love Gun tour.
Yeah.
It was probably mostly the same.
And I think on the Love Gun tour, songs like Take Me and Hooligan were being played live.
Yes, Take Me
is great. That's
I
a great
love that
song. That's a great song.
It's a great song.
And I don't know why. I could have swore that was on Kiss Alive 2. and it's not.
Well, because you watch, probably from the
I think it's from
Kissology.
The Kissology they played it.
Yes.
And that gets in my
I
head.
associate that live show with the Live 2.
Yeah, it gets craziness. Their touring schedule in the 70s
I
was...
know.
it's always been crazy, especially today, but also especially the 70s.
But it never stopped.
They never stopped.
Since
they
started
did not
in
stop.
the 70s.
No.
In 76, they did that little... They were finishing up stuff from Alive, and then they did a brief summer tour in 76, and then late 76, they went to Europe. 77, they did America, Japan.
Yep.
I'm
pretty sure...
Or Japan first.
I'm pretty sure the Rock and Roll Over Tour ended in 77.
Yes.
And then they started...
the costumes. You can watch footage of them in 77 with the...
Yeah.
Which is awesome footage.
Oh, yeah.
I love... It's such a weird point. It's like watching the Alive costumes in early 76. You're like, this is weird.
It shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't be that way because I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
I love little stuff like that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So I think the Rock and Roll Over Tour ended in 77, and the Love Gun Tour started and ended... also in 77, and the Alive 2 tour started in 77. Like when you hear about Peter and Ace being like, we were burnt out, we were exhausted. It's like I can see that.
Well, and then,
that's part of. I think that's part of the reason why they kind of did what they did.
Think about the solo albums.
Yeah.
They did 3 tours. Started 3 tours and. Or
they're
finished.
Like, time out.
Yeah, 77 was a hot year. It was the pinnacle of their success. And so it makes sense what follows. 78
they were
solo
exhausted.
albums, and then the return of Kiss, because they were just...
But yet Gene and Paul didn't seem to be exhausted. It seemed like Peter and Ace were the ones that were using substances to kind of like keep, to like...
That's
take
how
the
the
mind
story
off of
goes.
it, take the edge, and that's how the story. That's how the story goes. That's how history goes.
Gene and Paul were full steam ahead.
Let's go.
Yeah, Gene, let's.
But that might actually stem for more personal, problems. They can't. I don't think Paul couldn't stand to be off stage.
So he just wanted that very well.
He just wanted to be on. That might have been his problem.
Well, Gene's motivated by just
money, power, greed.
He's thinking maybe we're the biggest band in the world right now. How much further can we take it? So Gene's. He's not thinking about...
He's blind by vision.
Yeah, Paul's like, I just have to keep playing shows.
Otherwise,
to keep my
I'll
mind
go to a
busy.
dark place, yeah.
And then it's just interesting kind of, not dynamic, but, quad dynamic. That's not a word.
No, but I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
This is definitely a weird time for Kiss. And speaking of their crazy touring schedule, one fact that I learned kind of while I was researching about this stuff and listening to this album and learning more about the Love Gun tour and the Alive 2 tour was that Kiss played in Budokan on April 2nd, 1977.
Yeah.
They also played Budokan on April 2nd, 1978.
Really?
Yeah. And that confused me because, again, I was trying to get my dates in order, and I kept, why is it 77? Why is it 78? And I was like, oh, it's both.
I wonder if they sold it out both times, because I know they
I'm sure they did.
They beat the record.
I'm sure they sold it out. Yes, they did. They beat the Beatles record of 3. Kiss sold 4. And then Kiss came back and beat their own record again and sold 5.
Which is unbelievable. Go
Kiss.
Speaking of Kiss being on the top of their game, do you think that translates through the album? Can you hear, Kiss being at their pinnacle?
So that's a great conversation.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear the Army's thoughts as well on this.
Yeah.
Do you hear Kiss at their pinnacle on this record?
Does it? Yeah.
Does this translate? Because for me, it is just as much no as it is yes.
Really?
Just as much no as it is yes.
I'm curious as to why.
Here's the reason why. Because when I listen to music, or when I listen to this, I'm obviously wanting to hear the songs as they are. If I want to hear Kiss musically at their peak,
okay, well that's
a whole different story. I know exactly. So let me go there just to go there,
sure,
and then I'll dig myself out of the hole and we'll be back on ground again. Okay, so obviously and they're all going, we get it, Alex. Yeah. We get it, Xander. You like the Revenge lineup. So if I want to hear Kiss at their peak musically, I'll listen to the Revenge lineup.
True.
Well, I'll listen to not Virginia Beach, but the Rock the Nation tour. You know what I mean? Like, there's other eras for that.
Yes.
But there's something that we all have to keep in mind, that I have to keep in mind, is that Kiss, on this Off the Soundboard, they're not playing for me in 2022.
No.
They're playing for the audience and for the crowd in 77. And this is where I think a lot of people, non-Kiss fans, get really confused about Kiss and what Kiss is about. Is because when they look at Kiss and their musical abilities,
Oh,
they're always
expecting something else.
Well, they're always so quick. Everybody's so quick. Critics and fans alike, or music listeners alike, are so quick to dock Kiss about their musical, of their musical abilities, because they're not on the level of, say, either Zeppelin or whoever.
Yeah, you can't compare any band to Zeppelin.
Well, you shouldn't compare any band to anybody unless it's themselves. Especially but even then, it's a losing thing.
Yeah.
But Kiss isn't playing for us in 2020. They're playing for the fans in the crowd. So Kiss isn't really worried about what anybody else's opinion is other than the folks at that show.
Sure.
And I love, there's a great, I could dig it out, but I don't want to get, there's, in the End of the Road Tour book, there's a great quote by Gene from that tour. He says, basically, we realized that fans were paying just as much for a concert ticket as they were for an album. This live concert that is over and done in an hour or two, basically, it's fleeting versus this record that you can play over and over and over again. So how do you give them value for the buck?
Yeah.
And Kiss, that's why they did so much live. So when I listen to this, it's like I'm hearing the chaos live. You can almost visualize what Kiss looks like just by what you're hearing.
That's a good point.
And if you are somebody in the crowd in 77, you're thinking, this is the most amazing audio and visual experience I've ever had in my life. That's always what Kiss was trying to do. We need to look just as cool as we sound. One needs to enhance the other. Mm-hmm. Sound as cool as we look. Everything is a package together. And
do you
so
hear
I
that
feel,
in this show?
Yes,
okay,
I do.
Same.
Yes, I do. But I think that if somebody else were to, maybe a non-Kiss fan or a non-diehard Kiss fan,
they might not be impressed.
They would listen to this and they'd be like, wow, like Kiss is really sloppy. Listen to Kiss today. And then listen to Kiss. How about this? Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
If Kiss today were playing their songs like they were on a Live 2, the crowd would be like, gosh, this is like sloppy and it's noisy and it's,
You think if they were playing now to them in 77, they would think that?
I think if Kiss...
it'd be the opposite.
I think if Kiss sounded... I think if Gene, Paul, Eric, and Tommy came out today and were playing the songs the same way that they were on Live 2...
the same way they were playing.
And playing them the same way on Live 2, that fans would be like, gosh, have they not grown? Can they not... You know what I mean?
I thought you were saying something else, but I agree.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, if I misunderstood, I apologize. But I think that if a non-Kiss fan or somebody were to listen to this, they'd be like, this is really sloppy. This is...
Yeah,
They're not technically gifted.
Yeah.
They can't play live. These songs don't translate live. It all sounds muddy.
It would just be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
They would be missing
they
the
have
point.
already had that in their head in the first place. And
that's
this
very
is
true.
Definitely not for them. This is for the Kiss Army.
Exactly.
And
if you remember when the single dropped for Let Me Go Rock and Roll, the first single for this dropped, Ultimate Classic Rock or Blabbermouth or whoever posted it saying new single Let Me Go Rock and Roll released.
Yeah.
And all the comments were, it was, again, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. And it was, well, this song is crap. These lyrics mean nothing. This is sloppy musicianship. No wonder Kiss wears makeup. And it's like, you are missing the point. You would be missing the point if
this whole thing went over your head. If you're concerned about the lyrics, the sound quality, that's not even close to what this is about. This is Kiss is not in the same... They're just different from other bands.
They are very different, and it helps them and it goes against them. I mean, Kiss is in Kiss is in a league of their own, on a planet of their own. But you know what? That gets kind of lonely.
A little bit.
It gets kind of lonely.
Sometimes you wish some people would just give them
some
credit
people
that they deserve. Just baseline respect.
I was reading some reviews for the Love Gun tour and the Live 2 tour. And it seems like every time somebody reviews Kiss, even if they want to give it a good review, they always have to scale it back a little bit.
Because it's Kiss.
They said, it was... I think the review I read was like, it was good, but not great. They sounded pretty well, but not perfect. There was always like an asterisk or parentheses. Yeah. And I feel like that's always the case when somebody reviews Kiss. It's like, Kiss is good if you're into, like theatrics. Kiss is good if you're into lighter rock.
It would be different if they didn't wear the makeup and they didn't have the image and they didn't have the live shows. You would expect them to play super tight and focus more on the music if it wasn't. But that's taking away the Kiss part of it.
Yes,
that's the point.
Exactly.
It's almost just as the point as the songs are.
People think that Kiss is all smoke and mirrors. It's not trying to be smoke and mirrors. It's
half smoke and mirrors.
It's half smoke and mirrors.
It's half smoke and mirrors, and it's half good rock and roll.
It's what it's trying to be.
It's not trying to hide that either.
No, it's just trying to make you happy.
It's funny when people try and try and have a gotcha moment. When they say it's just a gimmick, we're completely aware that it's a gimmick. Yeah. The makeup, it's a gimmick.
As soon as you realize that
I like it.
Anything with the gimmick works better than anything with not. Look at Kiss.
Not anything, but a lot of things that I like.
Well, yeah, we'll think about Kiss, The Undertaker, Ozzy. I mean, Ozzy and Kiss, Alice Cooper, they're just characters. They're just characters. It's true. They're normal people otherwise. You know what I mean? They eat, they sleep, they have backaches. Oh, they sneeze and they get sick. But they're characters. And when they're in their character mode, that's, And
Kiss are just better characters.
And Kiss is just the best, the best characters there are. Yes. Kiss, they're real life superheroes. Exactly. Movies require a lot of CG, green screen, and visual effects. Kiss, that's all real. People. Yeah. That's all real. That's them really flying. I mean, they're using, wires and stuff, but that's them flying in a real person. That, or in real life, that's real fire. Yeah. It's cool stuff. Kiss are the ultimate superheroes. Yes. And so all of that absolutely comes through on this.
I was going to say, bringing all that back, that should be really assuring to the band. And this is just two fans' opinions. I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks. But I agree that it does shine through on this bootleg, which really says something about Kiss in '77 when they didn't necessarily need to do, there's not a huge gap other than sound quality between this and a Live 2. I mean, if all of that still delivers on something that we assume is not doctored at all, comparing it to a Live 2, which was, I was like, it holds up.
Very well.
You'd think, Live 2 was, they added all the crowd. They definitely boosted the crowd, probably added...
added crowd for sound check recordings that were better than the live recordings themselves.
So you might think, well, what were these crowds sounding like on the actual shows? I'm like, well, from what we can hear, they're still loud, and they still have a good back and forth between the feeding off of Paul's energy.
Yeah.
I thought, absolutely, the energy, the hype, it all shines through. Yeah. And the band's playing, how upbeat it is, Paul's banter, how excited he sounds, and the crowd responding, and all of that totally shines through. And I was super happy to feel that. I kind of felt validating in a way. I'm like, okay, well, they didn't necessarily need to do all this for a Live 2. They just did it because...
They're Kiss. They're Kiss.
I was going to say, they take everything to the next level. We have this. What can we do to really make it shine? How do we go above and beyond what any other band has done? It up?
Yeah.
When kids put this on our turntables, we want them to feel something.
Yeah.
We want to accentuate all those things. So I think, overall, just to kind of wrap things up, overall, it's a success for me.
Yes. Yes. This makes me appreciate Kiss Alive 2 a lot more. I don't know if we've, on this podcast, gotten into it, but if we were to do a live album ranking...
Oh, wow, that'd be good.
Kiss Alive, we should do that.
Plenty of material
we should do that. There's a lot of... At this point, there's a lot of live albums.
There's a lot.
But Kiss Alive 2 has always been towards the bottom.
Same.
Kiss Alive 2 has always been at the bottom.
I say at the very least, it's not something that I come back to.
Because to me, and again, I hope you love it. I'm not saying I don't love it. I'm just saying that if something's going to be at the bottom, it's going to be for me Kiss Alive 2 because it is the one I go back to the least.
Sure.
And the reason why is because to me it seems to be the most doctored, the most quote unquote fake. And
the songs are played really fast.
Very, very fast.
I feel like there's something weird about that.
There's again the contriving of the set list, making sure that it doesn't, it has to be this, has to be that, a little forced. Yeah. So for those reasons, Kiss Alive 2 has always been towards the bottom.
Yeah.
That has exploded. That has gone away.
I don't. So you kind of had like me with Destroyer until the box set.
Bingo. I don't even know where Kiss Alive 2 ranks now. Maybe we'll do that in the future. We'll do a ranking of the live albums.
Sure.
And the reason why is because of this. I listened to this and I was like, in my mind, I didn't want to pin the two up against each other. That's not what it's about.
The same thing,
But just for funsies, seeing what's different, how do they relate, and they were really, really close. The banter.
Oh yeah,
we got a little surprise for you tonight. It's like it's the same. It's all the Love Gun tour and the Live 2 tour. Everything sounds very much like '77. It's just that Kiss Alive 2 is the one that they put out to, again, get rid of all the mistakes and every time Gina Paul says, well, do you want to hear yourself make a mistake, every time for 40 or 50 years? Like, no. And all of that is now sinking in more and more now. It's always bothered me that Kiss Alive and Alive 2 were doctored up in the way they were.
It never bothered me.
It always did to some degree now.
When you're calling it a live album.
When you call it, because you want everything to be pure. No, if it's going to be a live album, it has to be this. Yeah. No, forget that. This is the entertainment business.
It's not a live album.
This is the entertainment industry. Every live album is edited. If every band just released a live album as it would sound like this.
At least from that era,
And if you're not a Kiss fan, because Kiss fans, we appreciate all this. We appreciate the rawest audio. We'll appreciate anything because we have it. But I don't think other fans of other bands are quite like us, where if another band released something like this and something like that, they might want their money back. But because we're Kiss fans and we look at it from a totally different angle, we love and appreciate this stuff.
Because we really do take all we can.
And this, for me, gotta get all you can take.
Yeah.
Well, difference doesn't make. So this, for me, has just made me love Kiss Alive 2 even more. It's made me love original Kiss even more. It makes me wish I was alive in that era even more.
You know what? I agree with that. And it's a strange connection, but I felt similarly after we saw the last Kiss show that we saw.
Okay. What do you mean?
In a very specific way.
Okay.
And that because you brought up the banter on this and how it pretty much lines up, matches the energy from Alive 2.
Yeah.
Paul Gene and Paul, but mostly Paul because he's the front man, really acts like it's Madison Square Garden every night.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen him and Gene throughout their whole entire career go take a half measure on a Kiss show. They always play like it was their last show. They're playing in Iowa.
Oh yeah, Des Moines,
BFE.
Iowa.
I mean,
oh yeah.
And you listen to all the stuff from Japan. That was huge for them. They were selling out Japan, and it's the same energy.
Budokan. Yeah. And
this is I don't know how big that show was. It couldn't have been. It's actually pretty. I mean, it's at the peak of their career. There's thousands of people.
They were roughly about 13,000 people on this tour,
which back then was pretty big.
Back then was pretty good.
Not like the bigger shows like the stadiums and stuff like that. But they always.
But to sell out 13,000 or something like that,
and they've done it historically. It's been documented. They've always done that since the very beginning.
Yes.
They've always pretended like it was Madison Square Garden every night.
That's what separates.
Totally, it's like that. You can go back and look at all the bootlegs, and it is completely true, and that definitely shines here, which is so reassuring. Every time I hear Paul doing, mostly the same banter, but never.
He's just always screaming.
Never toning it down.
He's always an 11.
He's always speaking to everyone in the back and beyond. Yes. That has always been consistent, and this, along with the last Kiss show we saw, because he still does the same thing. Gene and Paul,
Paul will yell to the back.
They've always played and acted, even throughout the Revenge tour. You go back and watch that footage when they're playing to no one.
Yeah,
some of those shows. Some of those shows are big. Some of those shows they were playing to no one.
They're playing to nobody.
And Paul is. Gene and Paul never skipped a beat.
Even in the 80s, too, when some of those crowds were a little lower. They were going nuts.
They were at their highest energy in the 80s. All throughout. You talk about the Animalized tour.
Oh, Crazy Nights was nuts.
Crazy Nights. They're jumping up on the air, kicking. They're doing...
Oh, it's insane.
They turned it up times two from the 70s and 80s. And they weren't playing to as many people.
And they had no makeup on.
And look it up as well. From what little we have, we can see that they're just on
from Lisbon. Yeah, dude, they were just going nuts. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Always.
And it's Gene and Paul, and I say them because they would...
That's what separates Gene and Paul, separates Kiss from everybody else.
Yeah. They've always pretended like it was their last show.
One quote that, I'm not sure if it's a direct quote, but one thing they always say is that the stage is sacred. And how, when they go out on stage, whatever's been happening off stage is
gone.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
And they play for the people.
Yes.
And they care.
They play for those people that night.
Yes, those people that night. Only those people. I mean, that's why I said, again, with this one, they're not playing to be 100% perfect note for note. They'll do that on Unplugged 20 years in the future. You know what I mean? This is all out rock and roll tonight, here and now.
Yes.
Live it. And they do. And it was great.
That's why it succeeds, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's still, separating it from the artwork, there's still a live Kiss experience coming through your speakers. And say what you want about the audio, blah, blah, blah. That to me is all secondary.
Yeah.
This is about the original band playing at the peak of their popularity, and I got pretty much exactly what I wanted. The only thing that could have been better is just I'm visual. I love part of why Kiss is so big to me is the visual aspect of it. I just want pictures and stuff to go along with it, but I will take what I can get. I've got Des Moines 77 to me.
Yup.
It's enough, and I'm gonna, as soon as I get my CD, that's gonna be in my CD. Just like Donington's pretty much. I still listen to. I love Donington.
I see it in your car. I'm like, oh, he's still rocking Donington.
That might still be my favorite one.
Really, Tokyo is still mine. They got me on the first one. The first one they got me hook, line, and sinker.
I think this one good. To me is tied with Tokyo.
Okay,
I like them for different reasons.
So what's your ranking so far of the 4?
It'd be Donington number 1.
Wow. Okay.
Donington, I love pretty much everything about it. Paul's vocals, the
Peter's
set list.
drumming was just the one thing that keeps it. That's why.
That's
why Tokyo.
Peter's
for me.
drumming, I can live with because, well, the sound of the drums was awesome.
Yeah,
it sounds huge because of what they.
Oh, it did. It sounds huge. It did sound huge,
and that to me sounded great. And so goes Donington. It's still too fresh. I'm gonna have to listen to it 15 more times to where I can put it next to Tokyo. I need to go back and listen to Tokyo too because it's been a minute. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's Donington. Those two are tied, and then Virginia Beach. Okay. Still the weak one for me. I think most people are pretty much in agreement there.
Yep. For me, quickly my ranking. So 1 Tokyo, 2 Donington. Okay. This one is 3rd for now.
Sure.
And 4th one, like you said, is Virginia Beach. And I think the only reason why, again, I'm not going to complain about the audio quality. I can't. Yeah. But as far as replay value and listening value, Virginia Beach and Des Moines will be the ones that I come back to the least because of the sound quality.
Yes.
Tokyo and Donington both sound great. The playing is great. The concerts are all 4 of these are great shows. All 4 of them are great shows. You're seeing Kiss, again, like I said, they're always at level 10.
Yeah.
So, a couple more facts from the Alive 2 tour, and then we'll wrap it up. Because one thing I thought was kind of cool was that AC/DC was the opening act on a few of these shows.
So weird.
Could you imagine seeing Kiss and AC/DC together on a bill in 77?
That'd be absolutely incredible.
I can't.
They also played with Styx for a few shows, which for me would have been amazing.
On this tour?
Oh, maybe that was a Love Gun tour.
Might have been Love Gun tour.
In 77. I can't remember which one. I'm thinking in 77.
Okay.
Styx,
that's
which
cool.
Was maybe at the, I don't want to say the peak of their career, but man, they had just put out, I think I can't remember the name of the album, but it's absolutely the green one. Someone will remember.
Yeah,
absolutely
right on.
Awesome. And there were a lot of AC/DC, there's Styx. There was a couple other bigger bands that opened up for them.
For sure. I think on the Love Gun, Alive 2 tour, so AC/DC opened a few, and then Piper was on a few, which I think was a band that Bill Coyne was managing, maybe.
Probably.
But Kiss and AC/DC played together up at Market Square Arena and Freedom Hall.
Wow.
Could you imagine seeing those two at either...
Imagine how much that would cost now. They'd have to do stadiums. Wow.
Yeah, they wouldn't even do... Market Square Arena is not even around anymore.
No, it's not.
But could you imagine seeing Kiss and AC/DC at Freedom Hall?
I couldn't imagine seeing them two anywhere.
Dude.
That's too much almost.
That's almost too much.
Epic.
It's too epic.
I mean, that's too rock and roll giants.
I would love to see today, Kiss and Judas Priest.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
That would be almost
like
too
kissing.
big.
It's like kind of like Kiss and Crew, which we were
privileged. Kiss and
Motley
Crew was amazing,
and it was amazing.
That was amazing.
That's why they called it the tour. That's why they sold out every damn show.
That's so true.
They played.
That's so true.
That was the best thing that both of those bands could have done.
Man,
the smartest move they could have made.
Yeah.
Well, Kiss and Aerosmith, 2003.
Oh, yeah.
That's strange to think about that.
Yeah, some fans think that's the worst Kiss tour of all time. It seems to be considered one of the... And that was our first tour, so of course our first tour has to be the worst.
Well, maybe it's because, Peter was just over and down.
Well, Kiss had to open too, remember?
Kiss had to open. They probably had to play a shorter set. Yep. Peter's about to get kicked out again or quit or whatever.
Contract's up.
Probably just kind of going through the motions. The outfits were kind of stale at that point. The costumes. I could see that.
Yeah. But either way, just Kiss and AC/DC, I thought that was insane.
In 77. Wow.
In 77. Anyway, yeah, so we'll end it there. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to please leave us your comments on what you guys think of Des Moines off the soundboard, and also where you want to see them go next. I want 80s.
Yeah, I want 80s.
I think it should be.
80s or early 90s, whatever. Non-makeup, I'll say.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, let's face it. With these 4, I've added 4 more versions of Rock and Roll Night, 4 more versions of Detroit Rock City, 4 more versions of Love Gun. It's like, come on. I want
80s, man.
I want Fits Like a Glove or
Fits Like a Glove. Yes.
All Night. Rise to It. Whatever. I want some 80s.
Crazy Nights. Yeah.
Crazy Nights. Give me some 80s stuff. So let us know what you guys want from the next installment off the Soundboard series. like and subscribe. We are on Instagram and Facebook, and of course right here on YouTube always. Thank you so much for joining us. Jeb, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up as we're closing up?
Other than if you haven't bought a copy yet and you're thinking about it, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
Support these little projects so we can get more off the soundboard.
Yep.
You know?
And stick around for the next episode of Kiss Army Things, because on the next episode we're going to be taking a look at the solo albums, and we're going to be combining all 4 into one.
Into one album.
So definitely stick around for that. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Kiss Army Things, episode 33. My name is Xander.
My name's Jeb.
See ya.